The night was quiet at the SETI listening station in New Mexico. Dr. Susan Clark sat at her desk, sipping lukewarm coffee as she monitored the incoming data. For 15 years, she had searched the stars for signs of intelligent life. For 15 years she had found nothing, until tonight. The signal came from Tau Ceti, a sun-like star 12 light-years away. At first, Susan thought it was an error, a glitch in the equipment or perhaps interference from a satellite. But after running 3 separate analyses, her hands began to shake. The pattern was too regular, too precise to be natural. "John," she called to her assistant, "I need you to verify something." John Miller looked up from his own screen with tired eyes. At 32, he was the youngest researcher on the team and still believed they would find something. The others had lost hope years ago. "What is it?" he asked, rolling his chair across the room. Susan pointed at her monitor. "Tell me what you see." John squinted at the screen, then sat up straight. His fatigue vanished. "That's not possible. Run it through the verification protocol." John worked quickly, his fingers flying across the keyboard. After a few minutes, he looked up. "It's real. The signal repeats every 107 seconds. It's artificial." Susan reached for the phone. "I'm calling Director Peterson." 3 days later, Susan stood before a panel of government officials and military officers in Washington, D.C. The room was tense with excitement and fear. "The signal contains mathematical sequences," she explained. "Prime numbers, followed by what appears to be a simple communication protocol. We believe they're trying to establish contact." A gray-haired man at the center of the table leaned forward. "And you're certain this is not of human origin?" "Yes, Mr. Secretary. The signal originates from the Tau Ceti system. It's aliens." The word hung in the air. Aliens. Humanity was not alone. 2 months later, Captain Alan Wright stood on the bridge of the ISS Voyager, Earth's most advanced spacecraft. Built in secret over the last decade as part of a contingency plan for extraterrestrial contact, the Voyager was humanity's best hope for a diplomatic mission. "Pre-launch checks complete, Captain," reported Lieutenant Olivia Jackson from the pilot station. "All systems green?" Alan nodded. At 45, he had spent most of his career flying experimental aircraft for the Air Force. Now he commanded a ship destined for the stars. "Dr. Thompson, how's your team?" he asked. Dr. Lisa Thompson, the ship's xenobiologist, looked up from her tablet. "Ready as we'll ever be, Captain. Though how do you prepare to meet an alien species? Our protocols are educated guesses at best." Commander Powell, Eric Powell, the diplomatic officer, straightened his uniform. "The first contact package is ready. Language materials, cultural information, scientific data, everything we could think of." Alan looked around at his crew of 30 specialists. The best minds Earth had to offer. "Let's make history then. Lieutenant Jackson, take us out." The journey to the edge of the solar system took 3 weeks. The Voyager's experimental drive was faster than anything humans had built before, but space was vast. As they passed the orbit of Neptune, the sensors detected something. "Captain, I'm picking up an object approaching," said Maria Foster, the sensor operator. "It's big, at least 3 times our size, and it's moving like nothing I've ever seen." The crew gathered at the view screen as the object came into visual range. It was sleek and silver, shaped like a leaf, with glowing blue patterns along its hull. "My God," whispered Dr. Thompson. "It's a ship." Alan activated the comm system. "This is Captain Alan Wright of the International Spaceship Voyager. We come in peace." For several minutes, there was no response. Then the screen flickered and an image appeared. The alien was humanoid, but clearly not human. Its skin was pale blue with large, dark eyes and no visible nose. When it spoke, its voice was translated by a mechanical system. "Greetings, humans of Earth. I am Ambassador Trelcon of the Minervan Collective representing the Galactic Confederation. We have been observing your world for some time." Eric Powell stepped forward. "We're honored to make your acquaintance, Ambassador. We have much to learn from each other. The alien made a gesture that might have been a smile. Indeed, though I must inform you that your world is classified in our records as a death world, a planet with conditions so harsh that intelligent life should not thrive there. Your very existence is surprising to us. The human crew exchanged confused glances. A death world? Asked Dr. Thompson. Earth seems perfectly hospitable to us. Your gravity is crushing, your oxygen levels toxic to most sentient species, your wildlife aggressive, and your weather patterns extreme, explained Trelcon. Most species in the Confederation evolved on worlds far more gentle than yours. Alan considered this information. You're saying we're the tough guys of the galaxy? That is a simplification, but not incorrect. It is why some in the Confederation feared contact with your species, but others, like the Minervans, believe that diversity strengthens us all. The ambassador invited a delegation to board their vessel for further discussions. Alan selected Eric, Lisa, and himself to go. The alien ship was vast inside, with corridors that seemed to shift and change. The gravity was noticeably lighter than Earth's, making the humans feel almost bouncy as they walked. Please forgive the environmental settings, said Trelcon. We can increase gravity in this section if you find it uncomfortable. This is fine, Alan assured him. We're adaptable. They entered a large chamber where several other aliens waited. Each was different, some insectoid, others vaguely reptilian or avian. All seemed to regard the humans with a mixture of curiosity and caution. Representatives of the Confederation Council, announced Trelcon. May I present the humans of Earth? As introductions were made, Alan noticed one group standing apart from the others. Their skin was orange and scaled, their eyes narrow and suspicious. The Arcturians, whispered Trelcon, following his gaze. They opposed this meeting. They believe Deathworlders are inherently dangerous. Before Alan could respond, the ship shuddered, alarms blared, and the lighting flickered. Environmental system failure, called a voice over speakers. Gravity stabilizers malfunctioning. The gravity suddenly increased, still lighter than Earth's, but apparently dangerous for the aliens. Several stumbled or collapsed. A support beam broke loose from the ceiling, falling toward a group of diplomats. Without thinking, Alan lunged forward. He caught the beam, a metal structure that would have required hydraulic assistance for the aliens to lift, and held it, steady. Beside him, Olivia Jackson, who had accompanied them as security, helped push it aside. The chamber fell silent. Every alien was staring at them. Are you all right? Alan asked, extending a hand to Trelcon. The ambassador took it hesitantly. You lifted that without mechanical assistance. The strength required. It wasn't that heavy, said Alan with a shrug. Trelcon turned to the other aliens. You see? The Deathworlders are as I described. Their physical capabilities are remarkable. One of the Arcturians stepped forward. Too remarkable. Too dangerous. Alan met the alien's gaze. We're not a threat to you. We came to make friends, not enemies. But he could see in the Arcturian's eyes that not everyone in the galaxy would welcome humanity with open arms. Their journey to the stars had only just begun, and already they faced both wonder and fear. Earth was about to reveal itself to a galaxy that had no idea what was coming. The diplomatic meeting continued in a smaller room after the gravity incident. Captain Alan Wright sat across from Ambassador Trelcon, aware of how the alien kept glancing at his hands, the hands that had caught a metal beam, as if it weighed nothing. Please understand, Trelcon said. Most species in the Confederation evolved on worlds with much lower gravity than Earth. What you consider normal strength is extraordinary to us. Dr. Lisa Thompson leaned forward. And you classify Earth as a death world because of this? Not only gravity, the alien explained. Your oxygen levels would be toxic to most council races. Your predators are numerous and deadly. Your weather, hurricanes, blizzards, floods, would destroy most civilizations. Yet humans not only survived but thrived. Commander Eric Powell took notes on his tablet. It seems we've been taking our planet for granted. Trelcon made a gesture with his four-fingered hand. This is why some fear your kind. The Arcturians especially believe that any species evolving in such conditions must be naturally aggressive. That's not fair, said Alan. We're not looking for conflict. I believe you, said Trelcon. But it will take time to convince others. For now, the Council has approved formal diplomatic relations. We would like to invite your ship to our nearest outpost for a proper welcome ceremony. Back on the Voyager, Alan briefed the rest of his crew. So they think we're Space Orcs, said Engineer Maria Foster with a laugh. More like Space Bears, replied Security Chief Daniel Garcia. Stronger and tougher than they are. What matters, Alan said firmly, is building trust. Dr. Thompson, what's your assessment? Lisa brought up images of the various alien species on the main screen. The Minervans seem genuinely interested in peaceful contact. The Arcturians are clearly hostile. The others fall somewhere in between. But physiologically, they're all adapted to environments less demanding than Earth's. Which makes us the odd ones out, said Eric. We need to be careful not to appear threatening. 3 days later, the Voyager docked at the Confederation outpost, a massive space station orbiting a gas giant in a nearby star system. The station's internal gravity was set slightly higher than normal for the comfort of the human guests, though it was still lighter than Earth's. The welcome ceremony was elaborate. Alien dignitaries from 17 different species presented gifts and made speeches about galactic unity. Captain Wright accepted each one graciously, following the protocol Eric had established. And now, announced Trelcon, we invite our human friends to join us for a feast in their honor. The dining hall was huge, with tables arranged in a circle. Foods of different colors and textures were served, all specially analyzed to be safe for human consumption. This is incredible, whispered Lisa to Alan as they were seated. The cultural exchange alone will revolutionize human understanding. Alan nodded, but he noticed the Arcturian delegation, watching them closely. Their leader, Science Director Krelvex, hadn't spoken a word to the humans directly. Halfway through the meal, the lights flickered. A moment later, the artificial gravity surged and then dropped dramatically. Emergency, came a voice over the speakers. Gravity systems failing in diplomatic sector. For the aliens, the reduced gravity was dangerous, their bodies not adapted to the sudden change in pressure. Several fell from their chairs, struggling to breathe. The humans reacted instantly. Alan helped Trelcon to his feet while Olivia, Jackson ran to assist a group of smaller aliens who were gasping for air. Medical team to the dining hall, Alan called into his communicator. Dr. Pete Wilson, the ship's doctor, arrived with oxygen supplements designed for the various alien physiologies. Their cardiovascular systems are collapsing under the pressure change, he explained. We need to get them to their medical bay. But the path was blocked. A support column had cracked and was about to collapse, threatening to cut off the exit. Everyone stand back, said Daniel Garcia. The security chief planted his feet and braced his shoulder against the column, holding it steady. I can't keep this up forever, he grunted. Maria Foster examined the base of the column. I need tools to fix this. No time, said Alan. He turned to Olivia. Lieutenant, get these people out of here. Olivia didn't hesitate. She began lifting aliens who couldn't walk, carrying 2 or 3 at a time with ease. The aliens watched in amazement as the humans moved through the low-gravity environment with perfect control. Their muscles adapted to work against Earth's stronger pull. Within minutes, they had evacuated the dining hall. Dr. Wilson worked alongside alien medics to stabilize the affected diplomats. Daniel held the column until the last person was safe, then let it fall behind him as he leaped through the doorway. In the station's control center, technicians worked frantically to restore normal gravity. The system was sabotaged, reported the station's commander, a tall insect-like alien named Zith. Someone deliberately targeted the diplomatic sector. Alan exchanged glances with Eric. This was no accident. Later, in a private meeting with Trelcon, Alan voiced his suspicions. You think the Arcturians are responsible? The ambassador asked. I'm not making accusations, Alan said carefully. But twice now, environmental systems have failed during our meetings. Trelcon's large eyes blinked slowly. Such actions would violate our most sacred laws of hospitality, but I cannot deny the possibility. Meanwhile, on Earth, Director Frank Harrison of Global Defense Intelligence received a troubling report. The long-range sensors that Dr. Susan Clark had used to detect the first alien signal were now picking up multiple objects approaching the solar system, objects that weren't broadcasting any identification. "How many?" he asked the technician. "At least 12 vessels, sir. They're staying just beyond Pluto's orbit using the Kuiper Belt for cover." Frank frowned. "Get me the president, and contact the Voyager if you can." Back on the station, the diplomatic meetings continued. But now there was an undercurrent of tension. The humans had demonstrated not only their physical capabilities but their quick thinking and teamwork in a crisis. Science Director Krelvex finally approached Alan after a session on cultural exchange. "Captain Wright," the Arcturian said, his voice cold. "I wish to understand something. On your world, what do you do with dangerous animals?" Alan met his gaze. "We try to protect them, actually. Preserve their habitats." "Interesting. And when those animals threaten your settlements?" "We find ways to coexist when possible." Krelvex's scaled skin rippled in what might have been a scoff. "Noble words. But I have studied your history. You humans have made many species extinct." "We've made mistakes," Alan admitted. "We're trying to do better. Some would say the Confederation should not wait for the Deathworlders to make a similar mistake on a galactic scale." Before Alan could respond, an alarm blared throughout the station. Trelkon rushed into the room. "Captain Wright," he said, urgently. "We have detected unauthorized ships entering your solar system, and we've just lost contact with our observation post near Earth." Alan's blood ran cold. "I need to get back to my ship, now." As he hurried through the station, one thought burned in his mind. Earth was in danger and he was 12 light-years away. The Voyager pulled away from the Confederation station at maximum speed. Captain Alan Wright stood on the bridge, hands clenched behind his back as he stared at the view screen. "How long until we reach Earth?" he asked. Lieutenant Olivia Jackson checked her console. "Even at full power, 3 weeks, sir." "That's too long," Alan muttered. "Ambassador, can your ships go faster?" Trelkon, who had insisted on joining them, nodded. "The Minervan flagship could reach your system in 5 days, but the Council is divided on whether to intervene." "Divided?" Eric Powell's voice rose in disbelief. "Earth could be under attack." "From whom?" asked Lisa Thompson. "The Arcturians." Trelkon's blue skin paled slightly. "It is possible. Science Director Krelvex has been gathering support for his containment policy. He believes that allowing Deathworlders into the Confederation would upset the balance of power." Alan turned to his communications officer. "Any word from Earth?" "Nothing direct," she replied, "but we're picking up scattered transmissions from the edge of our system. Someone's using high-energy weapons." The atmosphere on the bridge grew tense. Maria Foster, who had been analyzing sensor data, suddenly looked up. "Captain, I think I found something." The Arcturian delegation left the station 6 hours before us. Alan nodded grimly. "So they have a head start. And probably faster ships." Meanwhile, in the Arcturian flagship, Science Director Krelvex addressed his officers. Holographic displays showed detailed scans of Earth and its defenses. "The Deathworlders have primitive technology," he explained, "but their physical capabilities make them dangerous. Their bones are denser, their muscles stronger. They can survive in environments that would kill any of us." One of his officers, a female named Vexra, seemed troubled. "Director, attacking a non-aggressive species violates Confederation law." "We are not attacking," Krelvex corrected. "We are containing a threat before it spreads. Our weapon platforms will create an energy barrier around their system. They can continue their existence, safely isolated from the rest of us." What he didn't mention was that the energy barrier would also slowly poison Earth's atmosphere, weakening the humans over generations until they posed no threat at all. Back on Earth, Director Frank Harrison worked around the clock with military leaders from around the world. The alien vessels had deployed smaller objects throughout the solar system, Strange devices that had so far made no aggressive moves but were clearly positioning themselves in strategic locations. "We've tried hailing them," reported General Linda Peters. "No response." "What about the Voyager?" Frank asked. "Still too far away, but they've sent warnings. These ships may be Arcturians, acting without Confederation approval." Frank rubbed his tired eyes. "So we're caught in the middle of alien politics. Perfect." On the Minervan flagship, Ambassador Trelkon finally received a message from the Confederation Council. Captain Wright and his senior officers waited anxiously as the alien read it. "The Council has voted," Trelkon announced. "By a narrow margin, they have authorized intervention. Admiral Zixivar is dispatching a peacekeeping fleet to your solar system." "How many ships?" asked Daniel Garcia. "5. Against the Arcturians, 12. Alan frowned. "Not great odds." "There's more," Trelkon continued. "The Council wants proof that humans are not the threat Krelvex claims you are. They want to see your historical records, your cultural development. They need to understand how a species from a death world evolved beyond violence." "We haven't evolved beyond violence," Eric admitted. "We still fight wars, but we also create art, music, literature. We explore, we learn, we try to be better." As they spoke, the Minervan ship accelerated to its maximum speed. The stars on the viewscreen stretched into lines of light. In Earth's orbit, the first shots were fired. An Arcturian vessel destroyed a satellite that ventured too close to one of their weapon platforms. The debris caused a chain reaction, taking out several more satellites and crippling Earth's communication network. Military bases around the world went on high alert. Fighter jets scrambled, even though they had no way to reach the alien ships. Missile systems targeted the sky, despite the knowledge that their weapons were likely useless against such advanced technology. In his office at the Pentagon, General Ben Rogers made a bold decision. "If we can't fight them in space, we'll fight them when they land," he declared. "Authorize Project Phoenix." Project Phoenix was a secret military program developing weapons based on theoretical alien technology. The prototypes were untested and dangerous, but they were all Earth had. Aboard the Arcturian command ship, Krelvex received troubling news. "Director, the Death Worlders are deploying weapons," reported his tactical officer. "Primitive, but with unexpected energy signatures." "Impossible," Krelvex snapped. "They don't have that technology. The readings suggest they reverse-engineered it from observation of our scout ships." Krelvex felt a chill. The humans had managed to develop countermeasures just from observing alien technology at a distance. This confirmed his worst fears about how dangerous they could become if allowed to spread through the galaxy. "Accelerate the deployment," he ordered. "Activate all platforms immediately." The weapon platforms around Earth hummed to life. Energy fields began to form, connecting them like a web that would eventually surround the entire solar system. The Minervan ship. Alan and his crew watched in horror as the sensor readings came in. "They're creating some kind of barrier," Maria explained. "But it's not just a containment field, it's releasing particles into Earth's upper atmosphere." Lisa analyzed the data. These particles would be harmless to Arcturians, but for humans, it would gradually increase radiation levels. Not enough to kill immediately, but over time. "They're poisoning our planet," Alan said, his voice hard. "This isn't containment, it's extinction." Trelkon looked shocked. "This violates every principle of the Confederation. Even if the Council feared your species, they would never authorize this." "Then we need to stop it," said Alan. "How soon until we reach Earth?" 3 days, replied Olivia. "And the Arcturians' barrier?" "At the current rate, it will be complete in 4 days." Alan turned to his crew, determination in his eyes. "Then we have 3 days to figure out how to save our world." As they raced toward Earth, the full might of the Arcturian fleet stood in their way, and behind them, the Minervan peacekeepers were still days away. It would be up to the crew of the Voyager, the Death Worlders, to prove that humanity deserved its place among the stars. The Minervan ship carrying Captain Alan Wright and his crew pushed its engines beyond safe limits. The ship shuddered and groaned as it tore through space toward Earth. Hull temperature rising, warned a Minervan engineer. We cannot maintain this speed much longer. Alan paced the bridge. How close are we to the Arcturian fleet? Maria Foster studied the sensor readings. We'll intercept their rear guard in approximately 6 hours. One ship against their fleet, mumbled Daniel Garcia. Not great odds. Ambassador Trelcon entered the bridge, his normally blue skin now pale with stress. Captain, I've received new information from our intelligence network. The weapon platforms the Arcturians are deploying. They were designed specifically for Earth. Krelvex has been planning this for years. Why? Asked Lisa Thompson. Why target us specifically? Because you are the first Deathworlders discovered with spacefaring capability, Trelcon explained. Krelvex believes your kind would eventually dominate the Confederation due to your physical advantages. His studies show that in environments where all species compete equally, humans would rise to power within 3 generations. Alan stopped pacing. We don't want to rule anything. We just want to join the galactic community. I know, said Trelcon. But fear is a powerful motivator. On Earth, the situation was growing desperate. The Arcturian barrier now covered 20% of the solar system. Strange particles rained down on the planet's atmosphere, causing unusual weather patterns and interference with electronic equipment. In an underground bunker beneath Denver, Director Frank Harrison coordinated Earth's defense efforts with military leaders from around the world. Project Phoenix weapons are deployed to these locations, General Linda Peters reported, pointing to a global map. But without knowing where they'll land, we're spread thin. Frank studied the satellite images showing the alien ships in orbit. They haven't tried to land yet. They're content to sit up there and let their barrier do the work. Sir, called a young technician. We're picking up a transmission. It's from Captain Wright. The signal was weak and broken, but Alan's voice came through. Earth Command, Arcturian barrier, poisoning atmosphere. We're on approach to engage. Need ground support when we arrive. Frank leaned toward the microphone. Captain, what kind of support can we provide against ships in orbit? Not the ships, Alan replied through the static. Target, weapon platforms, Project Phoenix. Redirect to these coordinates. Data streamed in, showing the locations of key nodes in the Arcturian barrier network. He wants us to hit the barrier points closest to Earth, General Peters said. But even our Phoenix weapons may not be powerful enough. They don't need to destroy them, Frank realized. Just disrupt them long enough for the Voyager to break through. Aboard the Minervan ship, Alan outlined his plan to his crew and ambassador. Trelcon. The Arcturians outnumber us, he said, but they don't expect us to attack. Their focus is on completing the barrier. We use that surprise to punch through their line and take out key weapon platforms. What about their fleet? Asked Olivia Jackson. We avoid direct engagement where possible. Our goal is to disrupt the barrier operation, not win a space battle. Eric Powell looked concerned. And if we succeed, the Arcturians will still be there, still a threat to Earth. By then, the Confederation peacekeepers should arrive, said Trelcon. And with evidence of Krelvex's illegal extinction attempt, the full council will act. If we survive that long, muttered Daniel. The ship's alarm suddenly blared. On the view screen, 3 Arcturian vessels appeared, moving to intercept. They've spotted us, said Maria. Alan took his command seat. All crews to battle stations. Ambassador, I suggest you move to a safer area of the ship. Trelcon stood firm. I will stay. The Minervans stand with humanity. The battle began suddenly and violently. The Arcturian ships fired energy weapons that shook the Minervan vessel. Return fire seemed to bounce off their shields. Their defenses are too strong, called the Minervan weapons officer. Adjust targeting, Alan ordered. Don't aim for their hull, target their engine exhausts. Their shields might be weaker there. The tactic worked. The next volley damaged one Arcturian ship, causing it to fall back. They're calling for reinforcements, Maria reported. Plot. A course through the gap, Alan ordered, maximum speed. The Minervan ship shot forward, barely squeezing between the 2 remaining Arcturian vessels. Their weapons fired again, scoring hits on the Minervan's hull. Damage to decks 3 and 4, reported an officer. Life support failing in those sections. Evacuate and seal those areas, Alan ordered. Keep pushing forward. On their screens, they could now see Earth. A blue marble surrounded by a partial web of energy from the Arcturian platforms. The sight gave the crew renewed determination. Earth Defense Command is targeting the nearest platforms, Eric reported. Project Phoenix weapons launching now. From the planet's surface, missiles streaked upward. They were primitive compared to alien technology, but they had been enhanced with knowledge gleaned from studying alien ships. When they struck the weapon platforms, they didn't destroy them but created energy disruptions that rippled through the barrier network. "It's working," exclaimed Lisa. "The barrier is fluctuating." "Now's our chance," said Alan. "Take us through." The Minervan ship accelerated toward the gap in the barrier. Behind them, 6 Arcturian vessels gave chase. "They're gaining on us," warned Olivia. "Divert all power to engines, including life support," Alan ordered. "We only need to breathe for a few more minutes." The air grew thin as oxygen was rerouted to the engines. The human crew, evolved on a high-oxygen world, could handle the change better than the Minervans. Alan noticed Trelkon struggling to breathe and handed him an emergency oxygen mask. "This is why they fear you," Trelkon gasped. "Your ability to endure." The ship shuddered as it approached the barrier. Energy arcs danced across their view screen. "Barrier. Penetration in 5 seconds," called Maria. Her voice was strained from the thin air, but her hands were steady on the controls. 4, 3, 2, 1. A blinding flash engulfed the ship as they hit the weakened section of the barrier. Alarms blared, systems failed, and for a moment everyone thought they had failed. Then they were through, Earth looming large before them. Behind them, the pursuing Arcturian ships hesitated at the barrier's edge. "We made it," Alan said, his voice hoarse. "Restore life support and target those platforms. It's time to end this." As they moved toward the nearest weapon platform, a new signal appeared. "Captain," said Eric with a note of hope in his voice. "I'm detecting multiple ships entering the system. It's the Confederation fleet." On his command ship, Krelvex watched, in disbelief as his carefully constructed plan fell apart. Not only had the Deathworlders breached his barrier, but now the Confederation was arriving as witnesses to his unauthorized action. "Director," said Vexra urgently, "the Council is demanding we stand down." Krelvex hissed in frustration. He had underestimated the humans, their resourcefulness, their determination, but most of all, their ability to make allies. The Deathworlders were revealing themselves to the galaxy, and the galaxy was about to learn that humanity would not be contained. Admiral Zixvar of the Minervan Collective stood tall on the bridge of his flagship as it entered Earth's solar system. 5 Confederation peacekeeping vessels followed in formation, weapons ready but not yet targeting any Arcturian ships. "Open. A channel to all vessels," he ordered. His voice was calm but carried authority earned over 3 centuries of service. "Attention Arcturian fleet. This is Admiral Zixvar of the Confederation Peacekeeping Force. By order of the Galactic Council, you are commanded to cease all hostile actions against Earth and its inhabitants immediately." On his command ship, Science Director Krelvex seethed with frustration. His carefully laid plan was unraveling. The barrier was compromised, the humans had broken through, and now the Council had arrived. But he wasn't ready to surrender. "Admiral," he responded coldly, "we are not engaging in hostile action. We are containing a threat before it spreads." "Your barrier is poisoning their atmosphere," Zixvar countered. "Our sensors confirm it. That constitutes an extinction-level action, which violates our most sacred laws." "They are Deathworlders," Krelvex insisted. "You've seen what they can do. Their strength, their endurance. If allowed to join the Confederation, they would dominate, within generations." Meanwhile, the damaged Minervan ship carrying Captain Alan Wright and his crew limped toward Earth. Emergency repairs had restored life support and basic functions, but they were in no condition for further combat. "Captain," called Eric Powell from his communications station, "Admiral Zixvar is requesting we join the negotiation." Alan nodded. "Put it through." The view screen showed a 3-way conference. Admiral Zixvar, Science Director Krelvex, and, now Captain Wright. "Captain," said the Admiral, "I understand you have first-hand experience with the Arcturian actions. The Council needs your testimony." "My testimony is simple," Alan replied. "The Arcturians attacked without provocation. They deployed weapon platforms designed to slowly poison our world. They attempted to commit genocide against my species," Krelvex hissed. "We acted to protect the Confederation from a dangerous species. Humans evolved on a planet that should not support intelligent life. Their bodies are adapted for survival at any cost. Their history is full of violence. They would destroy the balance of peace we have maintained for millennia." Alan kept his voice steady. "Director Krelvex, you judge us by our past and our biology, not by our choices or our potential. Yes, Earth is harsh by your standards. Yes, we evolved to be strong and resilient. But those same conditions taught us to cooperate, to innovate, to value life precisely because it's fragile even for us." On Earth, Director Frank Harrison and his team watched the exchange via the restored satellite network. Military forces around. The world remained on high alert. Project Phoenix weapons aimed at the remaining barrier platforms. "Can they hear us?" Frank asked his communications officer. "Yes, sir. We're patched into the feed." Frank took a breath. "This is Director Frank Harrison of Earth's Global Defense Intelligence. Our planet has voted. We want to join the Confederation, but as partners, not subjects. We offer our unique perspectives and abilities, not to dominate but to contribute." "Admiral," Zixvar nodded respectfully. "The Council is aware of Earth's petition, but Director Krelvex's actions have created a diplomatic crisis. The barrier must be dismantled before negotiations can proceed." "We will not dismantle it," Krelvex declared. "The DeathworIders must be contained." "Then you leave us no choice," said the Admiral. The Confederation vessels moved into attack position, targeting the Arcturian fleet. Suddenly, Vexra, Krelvex's second-in-command, stepped forward on his bridge. "Director, I cannot support this action any longer. The Council has ruled. Continuing. This course is treason against the Confederation itself." Other Arcturian officers murmured in agreement. Krelvex looked around, seeing his support crumble. "You would side with the DeathworIders?" he asked bitterly. "We side with the law," Vexra replied. "And perhaps we have misjudged these humans. Their actions show restraint, not aggression. They broke through our lines yet did not destroy our ships when they had the chance." Krelvex stared at the view screen, at the human captain who had defied his plans. "Very well," he said at last. "We will stand down. But mark my words, this decision will change the Confederation forever." One by one, the Arcturian ships powered down their weapons. Commands were sent to deactivate the barrier platforms. Within hours, the grid of energy surrounding Earth began to fade. 3 days later, Captain Alan Wright stood in the Grand Chamber of the Confederation Council. Ambassador Trelcon was beside him, along with Dr. Lisa Thompson, Commander Eric Powell, and representatives from Earth's governments. "The Council has reviewed the evidence," announced the High Counselor, an ancient being from a species that had achieved space travel when humans were still using stone tools. "The actions of Science Director Krelvex were unauthorized and illegal. He has been removed from his position and will face justice for his crimes." The counselor turned to the human delegation. "As for Earth's petition to join the Confederation, we have reached a decision." The chamber fell silent. Alan could feel his heart pounding. Humanity's status as DeathworIders presents unique challenges to our established order. Your physical capabilities exceed those of many member species. Your adaptability and resilience are remarkable. These differences cannot be ignored. Alan's hopes began to sink. "However," the counselor continued, "these very differences also represent valuable assets to our community. The Confederation has grown comfortable, perhaps complacent. Your perspective as beings who evolved in harsh conditions may be precisely what we need." The counselor spread his forearms in a gesture of welcome. "Earth is hereby granted provisional membership in the Galactic Confederation, with full rights and protections under our laws." The chamber erupted in a mix of cheers and murmurs. Not everyone was pleased with the decision, but the majority supported it. 1 month later, the first joint human-alien vessel prepared for launch from Earth's new spaceport. Named the ISS Unity, it carried a crew of humans and representatives from 5 Confederation species. Captain Alan Wright stood on the bridge, now wearing the dual insignia of Earth's Space Service and the Confederation fleet. Captain's log, first entry, he said. Today marks the beginning of humanity's true journey among the stars. We go not as conquerors, but as explorers and partners. The galaxy once thought it was alone, until the DeathworIders revealed humanity. And now we will show them that what made us strong on our harsh world will make us valuable friends in the vastness of space. As the Unity lifted off, people around the world watched with pride. Humanity had faced extinction and emerged stronger, not through violence but through perseverance, diplomacy, and the very adaptability that had served them so well on their Deathworld home. The stars were now within reach, and the DeathworIders were ready to claim their place among them.